already facing a lot of questions about his ability to adequately lead the Democrats in Congress. Hakeem Jefferies, the minority leader in the House of Representatives, is now defending one of the Democratic caucus's members who has been accused of corruption.
You could help build the only independent news outlet, always on the ground with the people, for as low as 16 cents a day.
Corporate media, they've been lying to us for years, and you're going straight to the people.
Flint, Michigan.
Brooklyn, New York.
Government sending one more you to the residents of Chicago.
We need as many independent voices as possible, and that's why what you guys do is so important.
Covering what the corporate media covers up.
I'm JT Cestkowski for Status Coup. The defense from Jefferies came of Henry Cuellar, a representative from the state of Texas, who is a conservative Democrat and has long held corporatist positions. President Donald Trump recently moved to pardon Henry Cuellar before the congressman was even formally convicted or even tried on his charges. And this is what Jefferies had to say on CNN about it.
This is Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife, who were charged with bribery. What's your response?
Well, Congressman Cuellar is a beloved member of the House of Representatives, loved in his community, particularly in Laredo. I've had the opportunity to spend time with him down in Laredo in South Texas. I look forward to that moving forward. Listen, the reality is this indictment was very thin to begin with, in my view. The charges were eventually going to be dismissed, if not at the trial court level by the Supreme Court, as they've repeatedly done in instances just like this.
So just to follow up on that, do you agree with the president's pardon here? Do you think that that was a good thing then?
I don't know why the president decided to do this. I think the outcome was exactly the right outcome.
So there you have it, him saying that this was exactly the right outcome and defending Henry Cuellar. I'm sure maybe that they have a great interpersonal relationship. I am sure that Hakeem Jefferies maybe thoroughly enjoyed his trip to Laredo, Texas. But that is not a reason to support the pardoning of a person before they are even given the opportunity to face due process for their crimes. Congressman Cuellar was going to have his day in court. Now, that court date for the public to get a firm answer as to exactly what happened here in this case and for the courts to judge him innocent or guilty is not going to happen. And given how people already feel Congress is corrupt, and we will get to how people are feeling about the Democratic Party in just a moment, but given how people are already feeling that Congress is corrupt, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as a reporter here why you would not let all of the facts in this case come out first before you say that he is deserving of this pardon. If, as you say, that a lot of these cases are usually dismissed, okay, let the court do that. You can give the court the opportunity to dismiss this case before you invoke a pardon, before you back this very unpopular president in what he is doing in the way that he is exonerating corrupt Democrats. Rod Blagojevich, the former governor of Illinois, comes to mind here. But let's actually look at the accusations in this case. So this is the press release that was put out on May 3rd, 2024 by the Department of Justice. And I'll note there, this is not this past May, but the May before. So this was underneath the Biden administration. A Democratic administration released this press release saying Congressman allegedly accepted approximately $600,000 from Azerbaijan's state-owned oil company and a Mexican bank in exchange for official acts as a member of Congress. According to court documents, beginning in at least December 2014 and continuing through at least November 2021, Congressman Cuellar and Imelda Cuellar, his wife, allegedly accepted approximately $600,000 in bribes from two foreign entities, an oil and gas company wholly owned and controlled by the government of Azerbaijan, and a bank headquartered in Mexico City. The bribe payments were allegedly laundered pursuant to sham consulting contracts through a series of front companies and middlemen into shell companies owned by Imelda Cuellar, who performed little to no legitimate work under the contracts. Now, I am not saying that these charges are necessarily true, but they are serious. And when trust in Congress and in institutions writ large in the United States are at historic lows, it would seem that the popular and sensible position for the person who wants to be the Speaker of the House and likely rule with some sense of legitimacy would not wholly just back dismissing these charges and issuing a presidential pardon before the courts have even had a chance to weigh in. That the popular position here would be to have this play out in court so that people can see this play out in a nonpartisan fashion, in a way where there isn't political stakes, where now you can't say that Henry Cuellar is in some way beholden to President Trump and his allies in the House are now beholden to President Trump in some fashion. You would want this to play out in that way. So rushing to embrace this pardon really calls into question the Democratic leadership in Congress's ability to analyze how people are actually feeling out there. And it's something I know because we've been out there interviewing them ourselves on the ground, and people are not happy with national Democratic leadership. They're usually saying, well, my local, meaning my state and city representatives, those Democrats can sometimes have lukewarm things to say there. But when it comes to federal Democrats, national leadership from what is supposed to be the opposition party in this country, it is nothing but ice cold feelings there.
On a national level, we're not seeing leadership at all from the Democrats. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jefferies have done very little to rally our side, the side of the correct, to take action and to speak out against this. It's just not been there at all.
Can we just have the Democratic Party get off their ass? Excuse me. They're doing it a little bit now with the, government shutdown, but please. Yes, elected officials out here. I thought they were coming.
In the first Trump admin, a lot of Democrats stood up and they fought against ICE. But then when Biden came into power, we witnessed Democrats vote for record level funding for ICE. So I want consistency. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the solidarity, but we have to keep it consistent. I want them to really stand up, not just because it's good for the cameras, but because it's good for history, because it's good for their conscience, their morals.
And this is not the only questionable piece of leadership in the Democratic Party right now. This is a headline in Politico. Cash-strapped DNC takes on $15 million in loans. Loans, the need to go to taking out money as a way to finance your political operation calls into serious question your ability to raise money, which in turn, again, calls into serious question how much legitimacy and how much faith people writ large are putting in the opposition party right now. So they say the Democratic National Committee took out $15 million in loans in October, according to a new filing with the Federal Elections Commission submitted on Thursday. The National Party Committee framed the line of credit as an early investment to boost its candidates in New Jersey and Virginia earlier this month and help build up state parties ahead of next year's midterms. But the need for a loan still puts the DNC in sharp contrast with its GOP counterpart, the Republican National Committee, which was sitting on $86 million at the end of September. Now, I'm not saying here, again, that it's not expensive to back elections in New Jersey and Virginia, but the Republican Party had to do that as well, and they are sitting on cash reserves. The Democratic Party, which should be operating at this point of anti-Trump and anti-Republican fervor in this country, taking advantage of that in terms of being able to raise money, is instead turning to taking out loans. We'll return here to the reporting from Politico. DNC Chair Ken Martin said the early investment was already helping the party win elections this month and position itself for what is to come. Quote, "We can't win elections or fight back against Trump if the DNC downsizes operations like it often does after a presidential cycle," Martin said in the statement. Quote, "I made a bet that investing early would build power, rack up wins, and rally supporters back to the table. That bet is paying off." Now, again, I think that there is something to be said for that argument. But is that what's actually happening, or are you trying to put positive spin on the ability that you cannot raise adequate funding here? And just to show that there is actual energy out there for a positive vision of the Democratic Party, or a positive vision that the Democratic Party could advance for America right now and actually galvanize support, are recent election outcomes. So we'll return here to Politico. A different story. This is about Afton Ben, who was the Democrat running in a special House election there. Here's the headline. Despite loss, Democrats overperform in bright red Tennessee House race. Democrats notched an off-cycle achievement Tuesday night as Tennessee state lawmaker Afton Ben sliced into President Donald Trump's double-digit victory in a deep red House district. It marked the latest demonstration of voters' dissatisfaction with Republicans' grip on power as the parties head into next year's pivotal midterms. With 95% of the vote in, Ben was behind Republican Matt Van Epps 54% to 45%, meaning a 9-point gap in the closely watched special election Tuesday. The narrow margin gave Democrats cause to celebrate as they fight to retake the House next year, and it spelled trouble for Speaker Mike Johnson's efforts to retain his slim majority. Even though Van Epps won, the Republican significantly underperformed Trump's 22-point rout in the district last year, as Ben lured voters with a well-funded campaign focused singularly on affordability. And that is much like the campaign that Zoran Mamdani was running in New York City. Unabashedly socialist campaign there. Ben was running as an unabashed progressive in this race in this deep red House district in Tennessee. Not afraid to address people's financial concerns. How are people supposed to feel that you are addressing their financial concerns if what you are doing, in the case of Leader Jeffries in the House, is defending someone who is being accused of very serious corruption charges? And this is being reflected. This is not just, my opinion or my observation. This is being reflected in polling about the Democratic Party. If you've been following politics very closely, then you will know that the Democratic Party is not a very popular institution right now. In fact, far from it. In a 50-50 divided country, you would expect that favorable ratings of the Democratic Party would hover around 50%, maybe a little bit lower, but not a lot lower. But this is what we are seeing instead from Real Clear Politics, a polling average of favorability of the Democratic Party. Only 34% of people see the Democratic Party as favorable, which means it's not only a total rejection from Republicans and a large rejection from independents, and that rejection from independents would be concerning enough to the Democratic Party, but you're seeing a large rejection from the Democratic base themselves in order to arrive at this 34% number. And then they're giving you a 56, nearly 57% unfavorable rating. Again, I am just channeling here the frustrations that I am hearing from folks that we are interviewing on the ground across the country right now. I want to continue to do those interviews. I am planning another reporting trip right now. We're only able to take these trips with the support of our paid donors. So if you are able to, for just as low as $5 a month, go to keep us editorially independent, keep us not taking corporate ad dollars so we can call out corporate-backed candidates and corporate-backed political objectives. Being able to do that 100% clear of conscience, please go to statuscoup.com/join and become a member and support real independent journalism